Can you sell it in Lebanon, Kansas? I'm Michael Smerconish in the Philly Burbs. There's a monument. It marks the dead center spot of the 48 contiguous United States. It's in Kansas, and thousands visit each year. They want to stand dead center in the USA. It's a long way from New York City, New Jersey, Virginia, and California, where on Tuesday, Democrats won the big prizes: New York City's mayoralty, plus the governorships in Virginia and New Jersey, and California voters approved a redistricting measure backed by Governor Gavin Newsom. Opposing President Trump and talking about affordability, that was a common thread for the victors of each of those races. But beyond those factors and a party label, there was quite a difference in approach. As everybody knows now, Zohran Mamdani won in New York City as a self-described Democratic Socialist who voted for himself under the Working Families Party label. In Virginia, former CIA officer Abigail Spanberger adopted a more conventional, pragmatic, even moderate tone. Ditto for New Jersey's Mikey Sherrill, a former Navy helicopter pilot. For now, and through the midterms, Democrats can be many things to many people. Since Election Day, there's been renewed use of the old expression, Big Tent. But closer to 2028, the party will need to pick which path leads to the White House, the Spanberger-Sherrill model, or something more Mamdani. Looming is an important question of semantics over socialism. Political scientists describe democratic socialism as a commitment to democracy coupled with skepticism about unfettered capitalism. In practice, leaders like Mamdani and Bernie Sanders, they often advocate something closer to European social democracy, capitalist economies with robust social insurance. And viewed that way, we already have many socialist aspects to American life. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they're social insurance programs run by the government. Public schools, the Postal Service, police, fire, national defense, all publicly funded and managed services. That's not the same as the state owning the means of production, but still, we already live in a mixed economy. And not all socialism here emanates from the left. Consider this argument from conservative writer Jonathan Last. He says, some of President Trump's economic moves look like state direction of markets, from a golden share in U.S. steel to imposing a 15% government take on certain chip sales to China, to the government taking equity stakes in strategic companies. His point, there's plenty of socialist policy on the right these days, too. Or, as he wrote, so why is it so hard for people to just say out loud what is obvious? Donald Trump is a socialist who is trying to make the American economy function more like communist China. Perhaps this familiarity with socialism is what's causing a closing of the gap on the respective favorability of socialism versus capitalism. In September, Gallup found that 54% of Americans view capitalism positively, versus 39% who view socialism positively. But capitalism, look at that graph, has declined in the last 15 years by 7 points, while socialism has gained 3 points. Already 2/3 of Democrats have a positive view of socialism, while just 14% of Republicans do. That number for independents is 38%. And only 42% of Democrats view capitalism positively. Only 31% of Democrats under 50 have a positive view of capitalism. Let me say that again. Only 31% of Democrats under 50 have a positive view of capitalism. Current economic pressures, they're impacting our perception for sure. The median first-time home buyer is now age 40, up from the late 20s back in the 1980s. And first-timers have fallen to a record low share of home sales. And this comes amidst great job loss tied to artificial intelligence. UPS just cut jobs of 48,000 managers this year, and Amazon is reported to be developing robotics that could displace as many as 600,000 workers over time. No wonder, then, that pessimism is on the rise in the U.S., where nearly half say the country's best times are behind us. Meanwhile, the 2025 World Happiness Report again puts Nordic social democracies at the top, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland too, while the U.S. fell to 24th. Those countries aren't exactly apples-to-apples comparisons with us, but they fuel the argument nonetheless. So, Mamdani wins. Socialist policies already have a beachhead here. Democrats favor socialism over capitalism already. AI is upending our workforce, and those countries that are social democracies are happier than we are. It starts to sound like a plan. Still, we're talking about socialism here. For years, the word has been used as a political slur in the United States. Since the Cold War, the word has carried tons of baggage here. For many, it conjures the Soviet era or Fidel Castro. We Americans, we tend to see ourselves as aspirational, rugged individualists. You work hard here, you're going to make it here. And if you don't work hard, well, then that's on you. We don't like to be told what to do either, no matter what it is. Not too long ago, many took to the streets and they raised Gadsden flags. Don't tread on me, fighting for the right not to have health insurance. And of course, there are taxes. Social democracies rely on broad-based higher taxation, not just on the wealthy. Ask somebody in Kansas or Ohio or suburban Phoenix if they want to pay Scandinavian tax rates, and the conversation gets short fast. American politics is also much more about tribe than it is about policy. If the word socialism is perceived as urban, coastal, academic, activist, then voters will see themselves as practical, rural, or traditional and reject it before even hearing the details. So the question for Democrats isn't just which policies are popular in New York, Virginia, or New Jersey. The question is which story travels. Mamdani speaks to those who feel the system is rigged and needs restructuring. Spanberger and Sherrill, they speak to those who want to repair, not replace, the system that we have. For now, both perspectives, they live under that same tent. But in a country this large and this diverse, you don't win the White House by only winning the coasts. You got to sell it in Lebanon, Kansas. And that brings us to today's poll question at Smerconish.com. By 2050, will the United States be best described as a democratic socialist nation? Joining me now is Dr. Frank Luntz. He's a three-time New York Times best-selling author, one of the most sought-after political consultants in the business. His specialty is messaging, and he's worked for years testing what sorts of words and phrases help sell an idea or a candidate. Okay, Frank, thank you for being here. This is purely an academic exercise because you're a Ronald Reagan Republican. I get it. But if you were tasked with selling socialism to middle America, how would you do it?
Well, the first thing I would do in this Veterans Day weekend is to thank our men and women in uniform. I'm actually talking to you from West Point right now, and to thank them for keeping us safe, for keeping us secure, and most importantly, keeping us free. So veterans out there, we appreciate you. We value you. Second is I'm going to focus on 4 different areas. I need to individualize, personalize, and humanize the sale. I need to ask rhetorical questions to bring people to my side. Third is that this has to be an issue of fairness, because in the end, that is a core American value. And fourth, it needs to be interactive. So I need to have a conversation. And let me just start with the rhetorical questions. Is it fair, and I'm acknowledging I'm reading this, is it fair that some people's children will be born billionaires without having to work a day in their life, while others will work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on their table and a roof over their heads? Second, is it fair that some schools have all the technology, all the resources, and others can't even afford books or chalk? Why do I do that? Because you can see it, you can visualize it. And third, does everyone in the sound of my voice, because I'm personalizing it, who works hard and plays by the rules, shouldn't they have a genuine shot at the American dream? These are the questions that you ask at the beginning to bring audiences over to you. And without asking those questions, you're cutting people out. Back to you.
Okay, Bernie Sanders is on line 2 for you, because he's finding this pretty damn convincing. Like, where's Frank Luntz been all this time? I noticed that what you're not giving me, you know, you're so well known for saying to Republicans, don't speak of the estate tax, speak of the death tax. Very effective politically. Do you need to rebrand the word socialism so that many of the country don't think of Karl Marx or the old Soviet era or Fidel Castro when they first hear the word socialism?
Well, again, I'm going to give you specific language. You take a fact-based approach to everything. I'm not going to give you a ton of data, a ton of numbers, but if I give you facts, you'll believe them. Second is that it's the redefinition of freedom. For conservatives, it's freedom to own a gun. It's freedom to attend church. For liberals, for progressives, it's freedom from hunger or freedom from fear. It's the same word, but it's defined differently. Third, and only now do I get into the failures of capitalism and specifically corporate welfare, which even Republicans oppose, and not paying any taxes, which everybody opposes. And only then do I start to get at the issues of making the case that we can do better. And so,
Okay,
no, I'm not going to use your word. I'm not going to. Go ahead. Yeah.
Step out of this role, because you're pretty damn effective, and this has purely been a shits and giggles exercise. Now I want to speak to the real Frank Luntz, and I want to know, how worried are you that socialism is here or is coming? You heard my poll question. By 2050, will the United States be properly cast as a democratic socialist nation?
I'm petrified, and it's happening. I work with young people all across the country, and go younger, go under age 30, and they prefer socialism to capitalism already. The 30s, they are about dead even. It's only when you get to be older 40 that you become more supportive. And we should be calling it economic freedom, not capitalism, because capitalism is about CEOs, it's about billionaires, and it's about Wall Street. Economic freedom is about Main Street, about the workforce, and about the opportunities for the future. And I want to give you one bit of language that whoever wins this wins the entire debate, whether it is capitalism or socialism. America should be a place for new ideas, better solutions, and good people thrive. If we want to move forward as a country, as a people, and remain number one in innovation, ingenuity, genuine opportunity, real results, we will find more ways to work together side by side so that everyone benefits and no one is left behind. Whoever controls that language wins the debate.
That was excellent. I think AOC, Mamdani, and Bernie are all going to be clamoring for your services after the first part of our exchange. Thank you for participating. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts at home? They won't get it. I heard you. Hit me up on social media. Follow me on X. Also, make sure that you're subscribing to my YouTube channel. David, polls seem to match young generation's unwillingness to work for what they want. They despise people who work hard and smart, so-called rich. I don't think it's that simple. I think, and I got to say, David, you've set me up beautifully for a conversation that's about to unfold here in the next block of this program, talking about, in particular, rudderless young men. I think it's very easy to see young people in that light. But did you hear the part of my opening commentary where I said that the first-time home buyer in the 80s had been in their late 20s, and now they're 40? They think that the system is rigged against them and that they will never, no matter how hard they work, because I get the mindset that says, get out there and get a job and work, and it's more complicated than that. And they've also got artificial intelligence working overtime against them and the 40% of the stock market that has the most valuation. So it's complicated. But I appreciate that sentiment. I want to know what you think. Go to my website at Smerconish.com. This is today's Smerconish.com poll question. By 2050, will the United States be best described as a democratic socialist nation? Up ahead, as I just described, fewer friendships, fewer relationships, and a growing sense of aimlessness. My next guest, Scott Galloway, has a prescription. His new #1 bestseller at Amazon is striking a national nerve. We're about to discuss why so many men are struggling and how they can be helped, wait for it, by dancing, booze, and sex. Get ready for that. Is Scott smiling? I can't tell when he hears that. I hope so. Okay. Sign up for the newsletter at Smerconish.com, and you will get the work of illustrators like Steve Breen,